So welcome back to Module 8 of Straight Line Persuasion. I want to just take a moment to congratulate you for really getting to this point to Module 8. It's an accomplishment, and you deserve to give yourself a pat on the back. You're almost in the home stretch here. And I think you see now that the things that you're learning are not, on the drawing board as some concept. These are real-world strategies that you can use with, absolute, deadly effectiveness. And when I say deadly, I don't mean that to make people dead, to hurt people. I'm talking about it to get people what they want and to be ethical and honest. And that's always, you'll hear me repeat that time and time again. And it's because it's so crucial to take these skills to empower people. Now, in Module 8 here, you're going to learn something called boxing someone in. That's really why I started off that way. Because boxing someone in, what it means is that you actually eliminate all their reasons not to buy and have them admit that they should be buying. And step by step, you're creating that emotional and logical box for them. You have 4 sides, and there's really no reason. They know it themselves. In order to really say no now, they have to go against their own beliefs, things they know about in society, about what's right and wrong. And when you do that, unless you're actually helping someone make the decisions they should be making, it's wrong. So you're never going to box someone in unless they should be buying your product or should be buying into your idea or your concept. You'll also learn now how to position the 3 tens in a specific order and engage in a process which is called looping. And that means if one of the 10s is missing, you'll know it is, by the way, because they won't be buying. You're going to learn how to actually navigate your way around the straight line in what's called loops until you actually get those 3 tens in one moment in time, and you would have squashed the buying beliefs using precise language patterns, which you're going to learn right now. And you'll see how when you do all those together, people simply buy because there's no reason not to. So watch closely, take your notes as always, and remember you're in the home stretch here. 2 more modules to go after this one. This is a long one, so just focus right now. Get that momentum going because you're almost there, and I'll see you soon. What we're going to do right now is we're going to figure out what our individual triggers are, our physiology, for certain tonalities. Here are the important ones, the really, really important ones, right? Number 1 is scarcity. And with scarcity also comes a secret. An example from yesterday would be now the reason for the call today. There's a secret. There's a reason for the call today. Or, this is the last week. Nah, this is the last week it's going to be on the market. This is the last week it's going to be on the market. Scarcity. It's a tone for scarcity, right? There's a tone for certainty. Well, let me say this. Based on everything you just said, it seems like a perfect fit for you. Certainty. All I'm asking for is this. You give me 1 shot. And if I'm half right, believe me. That was the first part was certainty, and I dropped off, right? You give me 1 shot and believe me. Pause. That's certainty. Your typical close is going to be, you give me 1 shot and believe me. If I'm even half right, the only problem you'll have, now you're into calmness, because I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Sound fair enough? Reasonable man. So you went from certainty to calmness to reasonability. That's your basic closing pattern. You're not going to close like, believe you give me 1 shot and I will not be sorry. Sound fair enough? You're not going to close a lot of sales like that. You're going to generate emotions like that when you need to for certainty, but not to close. The closing arc, the typical closing arc, happens like this. You're building up to a crescendo, benefits, and you, benefit, and believe me, okay, you just give me 1 shot. And if I'm half right, here, peak, right? Half right, the only problem you'll have is I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Sound fair enough? That's your basic tonal pattern for a close. You don't want to close with the utmost certainty. It says you don't care. you close with the tone of the no big deal. With just reasonable people, it's very obvious. Certainty, scarcity, disarming. Okay? Those three tones are crucial. Crucial, crucial. The ones that you're going to all be able to master very easily here is the tone of saying, sound fair enough? That's going to be easy. So I don't need to instill a gesture. I don't want to have to insert a gesture in your whole psychology here. For some of you, though, certainty is going to be a bit more difficult, but even if it's not, it's good to understand your trigger for certainty. Because sometimes you need to get certain real quick and you want to trigger it in an instant. Knowing your gesture is the quickest way. Just so you know, before I come on stage and speak, I fire off what's called an anchor. Okay, this is something I was taught in neurolinguistic programming. It's very powerful. And what it is, anchoring is a process where you actually can learn to trigger a state in an instant, and you change your physiology radically by going back to a moment in time when you felt a certain way, and associating some gesture or either a kinesthetic squeezing your fist, a sound, a smell. Smell, I'll get to that in a second. You can recreate a physiology like Pavlov's dogs. You know Pavlov's dogs? Okay? They rang the bell every time they gave the dog food, the dog would salivate, right? Soon enough, they'd ring the bell, the dog would salivate anyway. He's anchored into the sound of the bell. Okay, if right now I was just all of a sudden you hear a police siren and before your conscious mind would even be aware, your heart will be beating faster. That's an anchor for you. A police siren is anchor. We're anchored all the time into things. We have anchors set all the time. We live our life with anchors. They're just mostly by accident. The key of advertising is to anchor you into a certain state. That's what they do. They use sex, visual images of pretty women. What does a pretty girl do with Budweiser beer? Not a lot, right? But you're anchored to saying, ooh, beautiful woman, bam, Budweiser label, and you're anchored into Budweiser beer. In order to set an anchor for you, you need to be in a peak state. In other words, if I tell you I want you to get into a state of certainty, right? And I'll say, okay, now here's the strategy. Ready? And there's a reason why I'm not going to do it in this room. I'm not going to do it in this room. I mean, I'm not going to set your anchor in this room because it'll be doing you a disservice. I'm going to show you how to set your anchor back at your office. And I know it's like, so well, why is he going to do it here? Well, I'll explain. An anchor works when you're at the peak of the state. So just imagine if you're a salesperson, when is the time you are most certain about everything? When? What's the moment you feel best? After you what? Bing, everyone said close. After you close, right? There's this moment when you close where you are king of the world, right? Now, if we sit here, I say, okay, I want to get you into a state of absolute certainty that you're a closing machine. So before you ever pick up the phone, you're going to have that feeling. Just imagine if every time you picked up the phone, you had that feeling you had when you closed the last sale. How great would that be? To be that certain about yourself when you picked up the phone. Before you knock on any door, boom, you're in a state from the moment you close the last sale face-to-face, and you have all those great feelings washing over you. That's the power of anchoring. Okay, so my goal here is, and you know, people try to do this in seminars, and it's crap. I'll tell you, well, get up and jump and dance and you know, clap your hands, okay? And I love Anthony Robbins, I do. He's a friend. I respect him tremendously. But I do not believe that you know, when you get up in one of his seminars, you cannot set an anchor there because you're not high enough at the levels that you can't. You have to get to the utmost peak of the state, okay? Now, you know, he's a pro at this stuff. He's like the best anchor out there. But most people, again, it's going to be a lot more effective. It happens in real life. In other words, I could try to show you, watch this. Okay, now go back to a moment when you close the sale and make the picture bigger in your head, brighter. Close your eyes, say yes, squeeze your fists. I can do all that. But it's not going to be nearly as powerful as if we find out what your gesture is right now for certainty. And the next time you close a sale in your office, you're going to set your own anchor. It has to happen after you close the sale. That's your moment. You have this little window of like 30 seconds where your brain is awash in endorphins. And at that moment, you set the anchor. I'll show you how to do that. Then, every time, now what you're going to do is this. We're going to do it very, very powerfully. Some sales forces, it depends on what you do, right? You close the sale, you hang up the phone. That's that instant that you hang up the phone, you're in a peak state of certainty about yourself, your ability, and your job. That's when you have to set the anchor for yourself. The next time you have that feeling is if you're in one of these offices where you go and ring a bell. You go ring a bell, right? You got that? Oh, yeah. Okay, you have the bell, okay? Great. That's an anchor, by the way. Why do you think the bell is there? The bell's an anchor, in case you didn't know. The problem is it's not being used correctly because people, unless you understand neurolinguistic programming, the power of the bell is really powerful, okay? But what you want to do is fire off your anchor twice. You want to set your anchor. Set your anchor the second you hang up the phone. I'll show you how to set your anchor, okay? The second you hang up the phone, and the second you ring the bell, you set it again. Double shot, boom, boom. And you set 2 anchors. Now let me backtrack for a second. Who wants to do this? And when they get back to the office, set an anchor for certain. Everyone? So it'll change your whole perspective on what it means to really feel confident when you're on the phone. Like I said, when I said to you, I want to show you how to get into that right state. So every time you walk through the door, you feel great. This is what it is. Okay? And anchoring is unbelievably effective when it's done right. If it's done wrong, if it's this much off, it doesn't work. You have to be the absolute peak of the state, or it won't work. So let me go back for a second now, okay? What you do is this, okay? Your brain is a very, very powerful computer. And you can take images in your brain, you can make them bigger, you can make them brighter, you can intensify things, and you can dim them. If I say to you, everyone close your eyes for 1 second, okay? And I want you to picture in your mind's eye your favorite food. Now, I want you to take that picture and move it closer to you. And now I want you to smell the food. Imagine smelling that food. Now imagine yourself actually eating, taking a nice bite of your favorite dish. Someone's drooling over there, okay? Open your eyes. Now, as I spoke to you, did the picture grow, the feeling grow stronger? As I told you to smell the food, bring it closer, right? You can manipulate images. That's very quick. I'm just showing you the basis of it. You can manipulate the images in your head to intensify feelings. The moment you close a sale, what I want you to do is I want you to do 2 things. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to visualize that precise moment. Stay in that moment. Hold on to that moment. Intensify the moment. And squeeze both your fists and just say to yourself, yes. Give yourself a quick yes. Just yes! You don't have to scream it out to the world. It could be just for you. It could be a screamed out yes, like a lot of you guys do in a boardroom. Okay? I know my guys are always screaming. They slam the phone down. Yes! Right? In victory. That's the moment where you set the anchor. Scream yes and hold the anchor. Keep your eyes closed, and for 10 seconds, focus on the feeling. Let yourself have the feeling and expand the feeling. Expand the feeling. Get yourself associated into the feeling. Remember I said that dissociated and associated. Dissociated means you see yourself in the picture. Associated means you step into yourself and you're seeing it through your own eyes. Start off, you see yourself, and then just close your eyes and step into it and feel it and intensify it. Hold it for 10 seconds. Okay, then if there's a bell, like there's a bell in some offices, you ring the bell, and do it again. 10 seconds, just stand by the bell, okay, and do it again. Now, what I started doing, I'll tell you, this is not for everybody, but I got really intense with anchoring because it was so effective for me. It's real. You're going to be shocked at how effective it is. I said to myself, what's the most powerful thing of all of the senses? Anyone know what it is? Sense of smell. Nothing more powerful than your sense of smell. You smell something, you go back to your childhood in a microsecond. You ever get like a whiff of a blade of grass and you're like, it's camp from 24 years ago, right? It's wild how powerful your sense of smell is. I remember I went to a circus once when I was 4 years old. I'll never forget the smell of elephant shit. They had to take me away from the circus. I was like crying. I remember to this day that smell of walking and crying. I don't like the elephant. Right? To this day, if I smell elephant shit, I fucking run the other way. Never forget. Okay? The point is that that sense of smell is so powerful, nothing brings you back to a feeling and to a state, S-T-A-T-E, a state of certainty, a state of nausea, whatever the state might be, a state of sadness. Something all of a sudden you see a movie, bam, what happens? You see something that relates to your own life, a sick child, tears are coming down, you're anchored. You fire it off, you have these unconscious anchors. And next thing you know, before you know it, you're in an emotional state. It's faster than your conscious mind could control. So there's two strategies here to get into a state of certainty, right? One is you can sit down behind the phone and do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, let me just get myself all pumped up here. Okay. You dial the phone, they're like... Or you can fire off an anchor, boom, electronically, automatically. Utmost certainty in a quarter of a second. That's how powerful anchor is. It's on a different level. It's on a conscious level. You got to set the anchor and you got to condition the anchor. So what I did is I said, well, I speak so much publicly. I said, I want to make sure that when I go out and speak, that I'm in an utmost state of certainty, conviction, and clarity. Those are my empowering states when I speak. So what I did is I set an anchor. Started off where I set an anchor from back in my first great speech when I was 24 years old at my brokerage firm. And I remember when I actually stumbled on the straight line, and I gave my first straight line speech, and there was like 15 people there, and they were all like, oh my God. And I remember this feeling I had afterwards, and it was like the greatest feeling in the world. And I started my anchor there, and I set an anchor for that. And then every time I would speak, I would fire off that anchor, and it was great, and it worked, and got me to a good state. Then I came up with the idea of introducing a sense of smell to it. Because you can introduce whatever you want into your anchor. So I found this little citrus inhaler called Boom Boom, right? It's a really powerful citrus blend. And what I would do is before I'd speak, I started going, yes, and I took a deep citrus blast, and the anchor became more and more powerful every time I did it. It's the opposite of other things. This gets better when you do it. The anchor gets stronger and stronger with each time you fire it off and you condition it. It's not like drugs where you get less of effect each time you get high. It's the opposite. So I added a sense of smell to my anchor, because for me that was really powerful, and I still do it to this day. I always fire off that anchor, and it could be with any sense of smell, Vicks inhaler, any fragrance that you want, whatever pleases you, to get into a state of certainty. For me, it's hugely important, because it doesn't matter. I could be doing whatever I'm doing. For instance, I have radio interviews all the time. I know some of you do a lot of radio and TV stuff, right? A lot of radio, okay? You know, you ever like walk into the studio and wonder if you're going to be in the right state of mind? Well, you know what? I don't leave that up to chance. I fire off an anchor. But right before I sit in the chair, boom, before I even know it, I'm certain I'm in a different mindset. Okay? That's how you do it. So what I want you to do is this. When you close your next sale, fire off, set an anchor. It's called setting your anchor. Give yourself 10 seconds. Okay? If there's a secondary time to do it, like a bell or something else, set it again. Do not fire off the anchor, though, the next time you pick up the phone, okay? Because your closing rate, here's the thing. Because if your closing rate is, let's say, 1 out of 15 pitches, right? Your anchor gets diluted. It becomes associated with not closing. You follow me? It has to get set first, completely set in stone. It's like, you know, I had surgery on my shoulder recently, right? And the guy put a screw in my shoulder and put my bicep tendon back on my shoulder, popped out, right? Okay, he said to me, it's fixed, but it ain't really fixed. Let it sit for 3 weeks or 6 weeks and get stronger and stronger. Same thing goes with your anchor, okay? If I set an anchor for certainty for you, you go home and set it, right? And then the next day you're out pitching, you get rejected again and again, like you will, because the numbers are 1 in 10 or 1 in 12, whatever it's gonna be, the anchor falls off. It's not set yet, it's not firm enough. So what you want to do is do it 3 times, only when you close. Only when you close. And after you have 3 times of setting the anchor, then it's locked in. After the 3rd time, then you start firing off the anchor. Not every time you pick up the phone. to the point where you get to know, if you're, let's say you're on the phone, you can fire off an anchor. You can be on the phone with somebody, okay, qualifying, right? And then when you're in the pitch, okay, you can set it right there. It's like happens in a quarter of a second. An anchor fires off in a quarter of a second. Don't fire off your anchor every time you make a cold call. You understand? You dilute it. When you're in an actual presentation, then you set your anchor off. Because cold calls don't always turn into presentations. You want to protect your anchor and then condition, and every time you close, you keep firing it again, it becomes more and more powerful. You can introduce whatever you want into it. Make sure that when you set the anchor and you close your eyes, okay, give yourself, there's that feeling of absolute, if it's for certainty is the best one to do. Start with certainty. That's the one you really want, okay, certainty. The most powerful thing for a salesperson, okay? You gotta just get it in there so every microfiber of your being is invested in this anchor. And the reason you say something to yourself is because you're then stimulating your auditory. That's an auditory anchor, right? This is called a kinesthetic anchor. I want you to close your eyes and visualize it. It's a visual anchor. You're hitting 3 senses right now, your anchor. I hit a 4th, which is olfactory. That's me. So you're hitting as many of your senses as possible to set the anchor. That simple. Okay? What I want to do now is I want to go through an exercise here. We're going to actually learn what our physiological gestures are for certain states. Now, I'll tell you what I said before, right? For me, number one, let's go through certainty. Okay? For me, certainty is this. I do it every single time. You probably see me. You probably notice, right? That when I want to get certain, the first thing I do is without thinking about it, I take the back of my hand, I slap it into my palm. That's how I get certain. I know when I look at myself speaking sometimes on stage, I'll see a tape of myself, and I'm walking around, it's in a corporate speech, and I'm being mellow, and all of a sudden, I'll say something, and bam, I pop into a state of certainty, and my presentation goes up a level. Happens. Because when I fire off my anchor, it's not, just understand this. The mistakes that people make is when you get into a peak state, it's not for every moment. You don't come home with your wife. Let me tell you something. I'm absolutely your wife. What the hell happened to you? You're an asshole, right? People come home from seminars like they think that certainty is the way to go. Sometimes compassion is the best state. You know what I mean? Sympathy, empathy, understanding, caring. Those are great states too. Not for sales. Certainty is your state for sales, the best state for sales. But don't take this home and try it on your wife and kids. It's not empowering to them. It's not empowering to you. So the idea is for this gesture for certainty, okay, yours might be different than mine. So what I want to do now is divide up into groups of 2, okay, and you're going to be A's and B's. And the A's are going to pitch the B's something utterly ridiculous, which is donuts, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to talk to the person, go to the person next to you, right, your B, and just say to them, listen, these are the best donuts in the world. I am telling you, there is no donuts. I want you to get really certain about donuts. Try that. Let's see you get really, he's tapping him on the shoulder. Okay. Good one, okay.
He's my B.
Okay. You're the dessert, okay? So anyway, so you're a donut lover, okay? I want you to get really certain about something ridiculous. Watch how you get yourself certain about something. And then the B, tell the A what he did when he was getting certain. Okay, you'll see. They'll say, well, you did this, you did this, you did this. Some people do that. You'll see there's this, a lot of different gestures, like 4 or 5 different common gestures for certainty. Okay, you do that, A's, then you switch to the B's. Okay? Then, okay, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do one for scarcity. Okay? There are not a lot of donuts left here. I got some information from the donut manufacturers. This is like 4 boxes of donuts left in this whole state. And this guy's gonna be really fucking pissed when they're all gone, okay? So you better go buy all your donuts right now, okay? So for me, what did I do? Right? It's different, okay? I honestly, I don't know what I did. But if you're watching, you can tell me what I did. I was caught up in the moment of trying to create scarcity. I have a gesture. Once you know your gesture, you can create scarcity anytime you want, because your gesture it's motion that creates the emotion. It's not the other way around. The motion comes first. Get it? It's a misconception. You think that, well, I'm in a bad mood, so I drop my shoulders. You drop your shoulders first and then get into a bad mood. Your physiology always leads everything else. If I said to you behind that door is a depressed person, for $10,000, tell me, is his head up or down? Which is it? Down. Is his eyes looking forward or down at the ground? Are his shoulders pulled back or slumped forward? Is he breathing deeply or is he breathing shallow? Shallow. Everybody here says the same thing. Why? Because we know how to do depression. We've all done it ourselves. We're masters of it, right? If I said someone out behind that door is happy, $10,000. Is their head up or facing the ground? Up. Are they breathing deeply or shallow? Deeply, right? Are their mouth corners turned up or down? We do happiness the same way too. Now there's slight variation, so the goal right now is to find your exact precise gesture for certainty and scarcity, and then for disarming. Now what would be disarming about donuts? Listen, these donuts, don't even worry about these. These donuts, you can eat as many as you want, and you'll never get fat of these things, okay? They're the greatest donuts. There's no heart attacks. Trust me. Trust me on these donuts, all right? Calm down, no big. Stupid as it sounds, make yourself create a disarming story about a donut. Everyone see what they're after here? To understand how you make a certain tone. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back through the script. You're going to lay down. You'll see in your mind. You'll make notes to yourself of what you need to do if you're having problems creating any tonality. All right, everyone got it? Let's go for 30 minutes. Okay, we'll do 30 minutes on presentation, okay, which is going to be a little academic here because I want you to understand structure. So you go back, you can write your own presentations. Then after lunch, we're going to do strictly closing. It's going to be all about looping, using everything you've learned right now to actually take yourself down the entire line to the end. Okay, so we need to just do this last bit of this is a little bit more structured, okay? So real quick, okay? Basic structure of page number 1, it's a work in progress. Remember this? Please, when you go back to your companies and you start writing new presentations based on what you're learning, understand that your first draft, you use it, it's going to be evolving. Cross out words that are causing you to get tongue-tied. Less is more with words. Contract things. Drop words like this is, say, you know, hi, John, this is Dino Imperi calling. You could just say, hi, John, Dino Imperi calling. You could drop this is very simply, and you sound more casual. That's a perfect example of how a script evolves. Your script is a work in progress, okay? The whole script, the body of the script, from the time you say, well, based on what you just said, it seems like a perfect fit for you. From then until you say, believe me, you will not be sorry. That's when you ask for the order. I'm skipping over the body right now. That whole thing is no more than a page. Do not go on and on and on and on about the wonderful benefits of your product. You give a couple of basic ones that are good and logical, that make sense, powerful, but not your best ones, and try to get the guy as close to a 10 as possible, and you know you're not going to get him to a 10, okay? No more than a page in the body. Okay? When I write a script, I swear, when I write my books, I'm an author, right? I read each sentence back to myself 100 times, at least, in my own voice, and I'll say it out loud. I keep going through it again and again. Does it sound good? Does it flow? Does the tonality flow? Read back your scripts to yourself. Every single word, like I said before, with like just this is, or you say to someone, getting started is very simple. It's just a question of some basic information. Getting started is very simple. It's just a question of some basic, right? You could also say, getting started is very simple. Just a question, the ITS, the it's is dropped, and it's more fluent. You'll start to, I'm talking, these are tiny, microscopic changes that all make the script flow better, and it all sounds more casual, which is because you want to get that rapport going, that you're a friend, you're just like him, you're not an adversary. So if you were speaking to a friend, you would say, it's just like, you say, just like this. So drop words to speak more casually, more informally. Contract words. Very seldom you'll say it is, you'll say it's. Contract your words and drop your words. Add pronouns when you can, okay? Paint the picture using comparisons and metaphors. This is very, very powerful. In this script that you have right now, you'll notice go to the body of this script that I wrote in this company. Okay, I don't have it in this one. You guys have it there. You see, here it is. Okay, now, companies like Goldman Sachs and Barclays Bank. You see that? Okay, great. Now, in the past, this strategy was used strictly by institutional trading firms. Average investors like you have been boxed out of the market. Meanwhile, companies like Goldman Sachs and Barclays Bank have been making a fortune with it. That's called painting a picture using metaphors and comparisons and acting to a really big company. You get that? Linking your good or service to a trustworthy figure. This is crucially important. Paint a picture with a comparison, metaphor, and link yourself to a trustworthy figure. Now, I did both of those, if you notice, they were both in one sentence. I made my comparison was about someone else making money with a similar system, and I used an authority figure, Goldman Sachs and Barclays Bank. Make sense? If you want to talk about someone's credit being fixed, use someone that's, if you can, find a prominent example, someone that's well-known, or you're stopping, or it's a loan model, whatever it might be. Find someone that's a prominent example that has integrity, that got into a bad situation, and use that as the comparison. Very powerful. You're leveraging off of their credibility, okay? And create urgency in the last paragraph. Now, this is tricky, because you have to maintain your ethics and integrity here. Don't lie. If it's an offer that's going to be around forever, don't say the offer's lasting for 15 minutes. Okay? You got to come up with language based on your industry that's ethical, but that also serves you. It has to serve both people. But don't lie. But create some urgency that the reason I'm calling now is this. We have a special right now going on for the next, it's about to end. Okay, or some news just came across my desk, whatever it might be. I just got this information right now. Just received a report that there's going to be, a famine somewhere. And believe me, these sort of things are, I put up a famine. I'm going to talk about scarcity in a second, how you really create scarcity, okay, on 3 levels. So there's all these different ways to create urgency, okay? Next, okay, you're going to go into a soft close at the end, ending with sound fair enough. A soft close means that you might, depending on your product, you might not even mention what the price is. It could be a very soft close. It depends. I typically mention the price. There's 2 strategies here, okay? If you do this close right, if you do this, I'm going to get into specifics in a second. If you do this close correctly here, and you say, sound fair enough? They'll say, yeah, great. And you say, okay, great. Let me just take down some basic information. The guy will give you his name on the application. I say, okay, which credit card you want? You'll say, well, wait, I didn't know I was buying it, right? Okay, that can be good and bad. Okay? I always give price, but I'm just telling you, there are options here about how, if you're looking to see how far you want to go on a trial close here. I'm a big believer in trial closing. I'm a big believer in trial. That means getting small commitments from a person and moving them down the line. That's what you're doing. You're getting small commitments and moving them down the line, okay? So at the close here, when I say a soft close, that means that you're not going out and banging the guy over the head. It's going to be a disarming close. Getting started is very, very simple. Just a question of your name, some basic information. I can get you enrolled in the program right now. Believe me, if you do even half as well, certainty, as everybody else in this program, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? That's your basic close. That whole process here should take no more than about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. If your people or you are on the phone trying to sell someone on your presentation, it's 10 minutes long, big mistake. Understand this. People are not going to buy here no matter what. We've been taught since we're this big to wait it out, to negotiate. There's got to be some time that's got to pass. You got to do the work. We've been taught not to buy like that. Now, I'm a pretty instant buy. I buy quickly. But I still don't buy like that. It takes a little bit of work to get me to buy. I've been conditioned that way. Most people that you speak to have been conditioned not to buy quickly. They want to negotiate in some way, get something out of you. They need to hear more. They're not convinced, okay? They have a belief that says they shouldn't buy. So, again, it's the same concept of keeping your powder dry. And you go into a soft close. So I wouldn't say, I'm going to show you all these different closes. Watch, okay? Okay? Two things. The power of presupposition. You'll make money with it. Crucial, as is this one, once you start making money. Now you say, you'll make money with it. That's one way to say it. Or, you'll make money with it. Like, it's so odd. I mean, that's not even an issue. You'll make money with it. That's your tonality. You say with that tonality, you've accomplished something. You'll make money with it. Once you start making money, doesn't do it. You'll make money with it, doesn't do it. You'll make money with it. I mean, please. See what I do with my gesture? Please. You'll make money with it. I wouldn't say please. But I say, listen, you'll make money with it. That's not even the issue. That's too obvious. I'm implying what there? Obviousness. It's obvious. And I'm future pacing. I'm painting the picture right here that he's already successful, whatever the product is, or he's already enjoying it. You'll make money with it. You're going to love it. It's not an issue. Let's just put that aside. It's so obvious. That's your tonality there. Make sense, everybody? Powerful presuppositions, okay? Okay, and this is what I've been saying all along, is embracing the power of no. This, my friends, is when the sale starts. And the sooner you accept this fact, the greater your life's going to be. Because watch what happens. You can actually figure out backwards that every time someone says no, you make money. If you close 2 out of 10 sales, right? You can say, well, I make X amount in every yes, or I make slightly less on every single no. You know, if you're making $500 for every single yes, then you're making, you know, what, $50 for every no, $60 for every no. When they say no, you know you're one step closer to a yes. No is a friend, especially in the middle of a sale. When he says no, the sale begins on the line right here. When you're done qualifying, you make your presentation, and you say, sound fair enough? He says, let me think about it. Boom, I'm like, thank God, now that's out of the way. Now I can close the guy. That's it. Reframe it. It's called to reframe what this means in your mind. And it will liberate you. Because what happens is like when a salesperson doesn't understand this concept, they'll go through the whole like a 10-minute presentation, give all that great stuff and believe it, sound fair enough? Let me think about it. Oh my God, again, the guy said, let me think about it. She's another one. Right? The alternative is, okay, great. Ready for it. Well, great, let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Money aside, I didn't say it, I didn't imply it. I am so happy sometimes when I'm selling, I have to fight myself from getting robotic on all the stuff to get to the no before I can get excited. Because I know no one's buying up until that point. I fight myself and I make sure I stay in state and I know how important all that stuff is. I know how important it is. What happens before the sale begins is crucial. The sale doesn't begin when I say, well, based on everything you just said, this is a perfect fit for you. Now, real quick, the sale still hasn't started yet. Still all blah, 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 all noise and talk, right? I've established rapport, gained major intelligence. It's when he says, let me think about it, that the sale starts. Yes or yes? Make sense, everybody? Good, okay. So, embrace it. Tonally, okay? And what that means, by the way, when I say physiologically, again, the old Law and Order head drop. You know, Law and Order? Yeah, you know, the witness says, he gets ruffled on the witness stand, and the lawyer's like, oh. And the jury looks over at the lawyer and says, oh, but we knew it all along. Now, that doesn't happen in the real world. And unfortunately, I know a little bit too much about that, being on the stand and stuff. I'm not proud of that. But I will tell you the thing that I was coached about was no matter what happens, you keep your game face. No matter what comes out, no matter what they say, you don't say, oh my God, now it's... The lawyers never do that in real court. That's for TV. They never tip their hand in real life. Okay? You're always going to maintain your game face. People won't buy if, one, right? They don't absolutely love your product. We know this. Yes or yes? True or true? We all know this, right? Say it. True or true? True. True. Good. The best thing since what? Sliced bread, right? Next, they won't buy if they don't trust or connect with you. That's missing, they're not buying. Again, they're not going to buy if they don't trust or connect with your company. And have not resolved their limiting buying beliefs. Things that hold them back. They've been burned before. They've been told not to trust salespeople. I don't buy from strangers. I need to speak to someone 5 times till I trust them. Here's the greatest line ever from the movie Forrest Gump. And this 6-year-old kid says it all. Gives you the keys to the kingdom. He walks up to his first day at school. You know, who knows? Everyone's seen Forrest Gump, right? Okay, everyone's seen it, right? First day of school. His mom takes him to the bus stop. And his Forrest is not that smart, right? He goes up, he walks up to the bus stop with his little braces on his legs, right? And the door opens and he sees the bus driver who he's never met before. And he goes up and she looks down and she goes, well, are you gonna get on the bus? He goes, my mom told me I'm not allowed to get on the bus, talk to strangers. So she goes, well, I'm Dorothy, I'm your bus driver. He goes, well, I'm Forrest Gump, I guess we're not strangers. And he walks on the bus. That's how easy it is to get someone to feel like they're not a stranger with you. People say, well, how do I get someone to trust me? Tell them you're trustworthy. This is really, really simple stuff. We'll get to it in a second in detail, but to say, well, geez, how do I make someone trust me? Or tell them I'm trustworthy. You know, do you say, you don't say, trust me, I'm trustworthy. No. What you say is, I pride myself on certain things. You're going to pride yourself. Don't write this, because I'm going to give you the whole pattern for it in a second. I just jumped that here for a second. Don't worry, you're going to get it in a second, the exact language on it. Everyone understand what I'm saying, though? You're going to, how do you tell them who you are? Flat out. What you stand for, what kind of human being you are, your qualifications, your certifications, kind of friend you are, the kind of heart you have, your altruistic sensibilities, the way you give back, the way you can leverage people's resources, the way you live for that, you help your family, all your friends, all that sort of stuff. You're going to tell them. Because if they truly knew that, would they buy from you? Yeah. If the other stuff was established too. You tell them. Not like, just trust me because I'm trustworthy. I am ethical, and that's when you do it in a very disarming way, in almost an apologetic way. Get to that in a second. Lastly, you haven't created a strong enough emotional want. I say that people buy on logic, well, they buy on emotion too. Say, I go very much over to this side because I get into this logic, because so many sales courses say people don't buy on logic. And then you get this misconception that you don't create a logical case. And it destroys you. Both must be in place. Both are in place. You got a good shot at closing if a few of the other things are cleared up too. Okay? The 3 10s. Okay? Number 1, they love your product. 2, they like and trust you and know that you care. 3, they trust your company. How many times have I told you what the 3 10s are? 3 times. Probably like 30 times today. I mean, I've told you, like, I mean, literally, in the last 2 days, I keep saying it again and again and again, right? That's on purpose. It's not by accident. Repetition is the mother of learning. These are the keys to the kingdom right here. Okay? They love your product. They like and trust you and know that you care. And trust your company. You must establish these things before you close. okay? And we have the art of boxing someone in, okay? And these are the sides of your box. Now, I caution you. Stop, sidebar, caution, ethics. Boxing somebody in means you create this emotional, logical beliefs, right? Action threshold. This is what you gotta do. You gotta box somebody in and give them no choice but to buy lest they contradict everything they know and stand for, their beliefs. They have to contradict themselves to say no. Sometimes people hang up when you put them in this spot. Everyone's like saying, yeah, they do. But if you do it elegantly and they know that you care, they usually don't. They hang up when you box them in like this, but they don't really think that you care. Click. Then you call them back and you get the machine. Or call away the screen, right? Okay? Boxing somebody in ethnically, please, 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 for yourself and also my integrity to go out and teach this. I was reticent to stuff. I wouldn't want to teach this stuff originally, okay? But I'm trusting people to really do the right thing. I do not box people in and take their money unless it's really in their best interest, okay? That's it. That's the story. The art of looping. This is the process where you capture the 3 10s. These loops, visually, what they are, what it really means is that if you're here on the line, right, and they say, let me think about it, you cannot go forward. You can't say, fuck that, I'm gonna try to close you anyway. Next close, you can't do that. A loop means you stop, you go backwards, and you take another shot at creating the 3 10s, and you move back to the line, and you go forward, and your loop, does it end here? No. Your loop ends a little further down the line. So if your loop's a little bit, it's not a perfect visual there, but so you loop, you go back, you go online, and you end a little bit further and ask for the order again. Make sense to everybody? Your next loop, you're gonna go here, you're not gonna go forward, you go whoop, back, and loop back around again. Notice the loop is smaller. In the first loop, the loop gets tighter. The metaphor is not a noose around his neck, so please don't think, that's not what I mean, okay? When I say tighter, I mean the language pattern gets more tight because A, you've already pretty much established the first one. By the way, if you can't establish that your product's a 10 for this person, you get a new product to sell. Like the product is to be a given. It's a given that you can establish your product as a 10. Everyone understand that concept? Or sell something else. Or you're speaking to the wrong people. You qualified the wrong people. Okay? So the loop gets tighter because what's happening is you're talking less and less about the product and more about yourself and the direct benefits to him. Yourself, I mean your integrity. And I say myself, I don't mean talking about me. No, your integrity and how you handle people and your company's integrity and what you could do for them besides this one transaction over the long term. After the credits are paid, we're getting new credit, mortgages. We want to be an asset to you and your family over the long term. This is far beyond one simple credit repair sale. The amount of money I make on this when I split with the firm and the government, I can't put puppy chow in my dog's bowl. I'm not getting rich. But what I do know is this. If you do even half as well as the rest of the people that have gone through this program, believe me, you're going to need 1,000 referrals when it's all done. And that's how I make money. Sound fair enough? That's a loop. Okay, I missed the actual, I left out the language patterns, by the way. There's a pattern, maybe I'll get it after lunch. There's a pattern there I missed. But that's how you would go through it, right? Next loop, okay, is even tighter. Until it gets to the point here when you really are objection, answer the objection, no more deflection, answer the objection, true beauty is bam, ask for the order. Boom, you're getting and then either he's gonna buy or not, or he's not a buyer. And the loop gets tighter and tighter as you move down the line. And at a certain point in time, bam, they start buying. Happens usually in this kill zone right here. They start to buy. Once in a while, you got people, you take them to the very end, they finally buy. Those are really gratifying. They're also going to be a waste of time. Okay, I've watched this. I was in training some company in California like 2 weeks ago. I did a quick training for some company. I watched this guy, taught him he's straight line. He was boxing this guy in for credit card machines. credit card machines, like that business, right? And he was mercilessly, but ethically, just going after. He would not let this guy off the phone. The guy actually bought after an hour. An hour. So like, all right, well, that's okay, but like, that's a lot of work for I personally would say, you know what, that's a guy I might let go because I could make a couple more calls. Usually that won't result in the sale, okay? So, and also, ethics again, you don't want to be beating someone up, right? There's a certain point of good taste and good judgment where you say, okay, listen, next, have a great day, good luck. If I can help you in the future, please feel free to call me. You never, ever, ever end a call in a bad way. I don't care if they don't buy you, if they're rude to you. Whatever happens, you end the call honorably. Thank you, and wish you great luck. Have anything to do, let a reflection on yourself, your company, and you'll feel better as a human being about it. Never get adversarial, never get nasty, never curse. You treat your people with respect even when they don't buy. Hugely important. So that's the way it works. Those are the 3 10s. What we're going to do is we're actually going to run the patterns and give you the exact language for the 3 loops. There's other loops too that come after, but these are the 3 primary loops that you need to know to really manage this. And the rest you'll figure out along the way. Not that difficult. Like again, it's all very simple. Structure and tonality. The exercise that you did before, where you were finding your triggers, I know it's a little funny and wacky, but sometimes funny and wacky is what works. Don't kid yourself. The ability to harness any tonality you choose is going to be critical when you're boxing somebody in. Because remember, the box, right? The box can also result in a hang-up if you're doing it in a way that's not disarming. It doesn't say that you care. Say, listen, I understand, don't misconstrue my enthusiasm and pressure. It's in your best interest. I care. I'm just like you. If all that stuff is in there, if you're boxing with a state of absolute certainty, not going to work. You don't box with certainty. There's blips of certainty. There's blips of certainty in there. Show you what they are. There's certain high notes of certainty, but mostly it's compassion. And it's certainty that you know that you can help them gain control of their lives. That's your certainty. Your certainty that you can help them. Not that you're right and you can make a commission, you can bang the guy close. The certainty in your voice is almost a pleading tone that I know I got the goods, I know I can help you. Believe me, you will not be sorry. That's the sort of certainty you need. This is the heart of what makes the straight line so powerful. So let's just go, and let me just reframe, I'm gonna say this, let me give one more ethical warning here, please, to start this. This shit is so powerful and effective, you will get people to do things they shouldn't do, buy things they shouldn't buy routinely, without much problem. So you can never use it for that. This is about helping people overcome obstacles to buying, to motivate them to take action when they should, to help them break through those fear barriers, the things that we generalize. When I talk about deletion, distortion, and generalization, that's how we make sense of the world, right? What happens is when we were 5 and our mommy said, don't trust a stranger, don't take candy, all this sort of stuff, we generalized it out to everything. Don't trust anybody. Now, in this world we live in today, you can't live like that. You can't live in a bubble. You just can't. You're getting barraged with emails and offers and texts and this and that. You gotta exist in the world, move through it without fear. You have to make smart decisions, but you have to make decisions quickly in this world or you get destroyed. Financially, emotionally, it doesn't work. So the strategy of saying, I'm not going to trust anybody is a very disempowering strategy. We generalized that from when we were kids, and also, for many people, they were burnt by unscrupulous salespeople, which makes your job as an honest salesperson harder. Fact is, though, because they were burnt once, does that mean that all salespeople are evil? Yes or no? Of course not, but we generalize. To make sense of the world, we generalize. So you're up against that generalization. Make sense? Yes or yes? Great. So what you're going to be doing here as you loop is you're going to be breaking through that belief. You know that up front. You're going to assume that unless he's the 1 in a million who loves salesmen, and I don't say that like, oh, everyone hates sales. I'm saying that who has none of that belief. Even myself, as a salesperson, has that belief. Instantly it comes up. The wall comes up wherever I go. You know it's true. For yourself even. And I'm a buyer. I have a little bit of it. People who aren't buyers have thick walls of it. The good news is that when you get someone like that, who doesn't really buy from anybody, when you break it down, you have a customer for life. So it can work against you too, as long as you're aware of it and you can address it in an elegant way and show a person how to take action to move through those barriers to get what they, not just what they want, but what they need. Make sense? Great, okay, so here we go. First loop, okay, it starts here, okay? The 3 10s are what? The product is what? The best thing since sliced bread, right? Okay? It's on your timing. You deflect objections, listen twice as much as you speak, and run specific patterns, okay? That's looping. Your first 10, okay? Sliced bread, okay? People will not buy if they're not convinced your product is the best thing since sliced bread. You're saying, oh, that's not really true, Jordan. You know, maybe you're right. Sometimes they will buy. But honestly, it makes your job a lot easier when you get into that level of certainty about your product. If they kind of like your product and they just really need something as a default, you can make a sale. But typically, those sales are made on a transactional basis. They go out and get those goods at a store. They're not going to go call and be hammered on the phone by a stranger to buy something they're not sure about. They're going to buy from a stranger on a phone call or even face-to-face on a cold call. They're going to want to make sure they love the product. Now, how do you do that? Well, you gave the foundation of that in your opening presentation. But the fact is you left most of your powder dry. So what you're going to do is this. When you ask the guy for the order, and let me go through that one time here. Let's reinsert ourselves in this script here. Okay, now here, watch. Getting enrolled is very simple. Just a question of some basic information. Now, you see me reading the script? I could say this off the top of my head, but without as much certainty as if I look at the paper. So remember, if you're on a phone and you have the benefit of being able to look at a piece of paper with the exact words written on it, it allows your mind to wander forward. In other words, because you have the paper there, you can run another dialogue in your head, which is listen to what they're saying, developing a strategy for later down the line, right? You want to keep all your resources as much open to other things as remembering a script. So it's right in front of you. So now getting started is very simple. Just a question of some basic information along with your card details. And I can reserve you a seat at next month's training session. And believe me, Bob, if you do even half as well as the rest of the people who've gone through this program, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? That's where you enter the sale. When he says, well, let me think, it sounds good. He usually says, sounds good, let me think about it. Is that a pretty rational response? Sounds good, let me think about it. Great. Option 1 is, what is there to think about? I gave you a lot of facts. Let me just tell you something. Listen, number 1 here, maybe you didn't hear me correctly. This is the best thing since sliced bread. You need this, you know you need this, you're about to lose your house, your credit's in the toilet bowl, whatever it might be. You need to attend this seminar because you don't know what you're doing in your industry, blah, blah, blah. You can attack the guy head on and you lose rapport. You fall out of rapport. Or you could do deflection. Write that down. Number 1, deflect. He says, let me think about it. You don't say why. You say, I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you a question. Money aside, does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Yes or no? No. What did I do wrong? I said money aside. Why do I need to say money aside? I think my tone's pretty clear, isn't it? That money is aside here. And it's just very honest, like, you know, it's like an arm's length question, like, you know, no big deal. I what? Right? Disarming. I disarm my tone. I don't say, well, let me ask you, wait. Let me ask you a question. You know, maybe you didn't hear what I said to you, but does this idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Negative. You cannot say it that way. It is ultimate disarm. I hear what you're saying. Let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? That's your tonality.
And he'll say, yeah, it sounds pretty good. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I know I need to get this done. So now what you're going to do is you're going to pace, lead. Okay? If he says to you, and this is so crucial, write this, pace, lead at this moment. If he says to you, yeah, it sounds pretty good. You don't say, exactly. Now let me say this, the true beauty of the program, and you resell the program. Don't come at him with enthusiasm. Enter his world where he is. He's at a certain, let's say you have a scale of 1 to 10. I'll switch to purple now. Make this nice little rainbow. 1 to 10. Why I put the dash there? I have no fucking idea. I can't write English, okay? I can type it, right? So anyway, 1 to 10. Okay, let's make little dots to fill it in. Okay? Guy says, yeah, it sounds pretty good. Where do you think he is? 4, 5, 6? 5 or 6, right? Sound fair? He's a 5 or a 6. Okay? Do you come at him with a 10 of how enthusiastic and certain you are about your product? No. You break rapport that way. He tunes out. You've entered his world at a different spot. You always have to be conscious every moment you're on the phone or in person with somebody that you stay within their sphere of where they are emotionally. So what you do is you pace him. He says, yeah, it sounds pretty good. You say, well, yeah, exactly. I hear what you're saying. Let me say this. The true beauty of the program, and you're right about what he is, maybe a notch above him. Let's go through it again. You say, let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? He says, yeah, it sounds pretty good. I know I need to get some credit repair done. I said, exactly. And let me say this. The true beauty of the program is that we have 3 different strategies and so on and so forth. And now you're going to go into a second wrap. And, we've been doing this for 5 years and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter what the verbiage is. But here's what happens. Slowly but surely, you're inching up your pace. And somewhere in the middle, you're in a state of absolute certainty. Watch. With this trading company, look at the rebuttal. Everyone got this sheet? Okay, watch. It says, exactly. You see, the true beauty of the program, of the system, you'll be investing your funds directly alongside institutional money. You know what they say about institutional money? It's usually smart money. And even when it's not, it's enough to fuel the market anyway. You follow me? He says, yeah, because that makes sense. You say, great. Exactly. See, now he'll follow. It's a question you have to agree with. He'll say, yo, yeah, I do. Say, exactly. Raise up again, okay? It's one of the most basic truths of currency trading. You see, all of a sudden, you're back at a pace now. You're up again in certainty. You don't hit him. If he's uncertain, do not hit him with certainty. Enter his world where he is. Slowly build and wait for the first point in time where you can, boom, jump up your level of certainty. Before you know it, now what's happening, he's going to follow you emotionally. You start leading him. That's what pace lead is. You act like the guy, and bam, you step it up, and he acts like you. And it works 90% of the time. So it will follow your energy. The state that you have affects the state of everybody around you. So you pop in the middle of this thing, go from is world, slightly above, boom, boom, you hit your spot, and you'll know where it is in your script. Find your spot in your script. You create a question here, you make a statement whose obviousness cannot be argued, and get him to agree with you as something that's totally obvious. Once he does that, he's now in a state of certainty, and you take that and roll it back into your product. Make sense? Yes or yes? Okay? Now you move forward. End off this statement here, okay, with a very powerful statement that future paces success. What that means is you paint a picture when you get to the end of your script. Here it talks about after you start making money and you're seeing daylight, then you can start working bigger and better and make some real money. Yeah, follow what I'm saying? He's like, oh, yeah, of course now. Of course he's going to say yes. It's no longer about, does he want to buy this product? It's about, does he love the idea of seeing financial daylight in his life and getting ahead? The equivalent for credit repair would be what? After we get your credit fixed, all right, then we can start building you some real credit at the right rates. Make sense so far? He's like, oh, yeah, exactly. What's he going to say? No, it doesn't make sense? For loan monsters, we'll get you a loan mod if I get your payment to an affordable level, and then you can start really getting yourself back on track. Make sense so far? He'll say, oh yeah, of course it will. Bingo. Best thing since sliced bread. You get that? You deflected his objection and you got him to admit a simple truth. Boom, logically. Forget money. You didn't say forget money, but just you disarmed him with your tone and you got him to buy into the credibility and the efficacy of your program. And it better be credible and be effective, or shame on you for using this system to manipulate somebody. But if your system's great, and I know you guys have great products, bang. You've got him on board now with the first 10. Now, he's at a 10 for how long? Like 3 seconds, maybe? Right? Then his mind's like, oh, wait a second. He's like, what happened? Wait a second. I didn't know I want to buy, but I just said this is the greatest thing. And he starts to erode slightly, but he's closer. You hopefully, if you did a good job and your script is well written, you could get the guy to a 10 in the moment. Right here. Got him to a 10. And in your mind, you're like, check a box. Okay? You turned the combination a little bit. Got click. Now we know that the things that must happen here are A, he must think what? Your product is the, I love this slide by the way, right? Makes me hungry. Best thing since sliced bread, okay? Which leads us to step 2, okay? Selling yourself. How do you sell yourself? You don't just say, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. You sound like a fool and a salesman. Many, many years ago, they had these courses, like Dale Carnegie was one of these courses, and you said someone's name 5 times, they trusted you. People are a bit wiser than that right now. You know, the days of, if you guys have been around at all, they had these Ben Franklin closes. You know what Ben Franklin closes? You'd say, well, when old Benjamin Franklin couldn't make a decision, he was a very wise man. He did something very simple. He took out a big piece of paper, he drew a line right down the middle, and he put on one side of the paper all the positives why you should buy the product, and all the negatives on the other side why you shouldn't buy the product. And whichever side had more of the positives and negatives, he did that thing. And of course, you guide them through and you come up with 84 positives and 2 negatives, right? Well, people are way too smart for Ben Franklin closes right now. However, the theory of a Ben Franklin close is exactly what you're doing as you're moving down the straight line. You're just doing it subtly and elegantly. And it happens in a loop while you're breaking beliefs. See, a Ben Franklin close is pure logic. Pure logic. It's like, energy expended, benefit created. Risk, reward. It's important, but you can't do a Ben Franklin close. People will laugh at you. Okay? So how do you sell yourself? Well, the best way to sell yourself is to make it into a metaphor. Create an example that is so simple and undeniably logical that they have to admit that you're right. So what you do is this. Depending on what industry that you're in, you're a stockbroker, for instance, something I know real well. Right? Say, let me ask you a question. If I'd been your broker for the last 3 or 4 years, making you money on a consistent basis, put you into 4 or 5 stocks, you made money on all of them, you wouldn't be saying, let me think about it right now. You'd probably be buying the stock, right? What's he going to say to that one? He could say 3 things, and this is the line now. Watch the straight line. There's 3 responses. Now I'll switch to red. I like red. You're over here on the line. Okay? You say, let me ask you a question. Did that idea make sense to you? Yes, you got through that whole point. So you're here on the line. You move down a little bit. Now you say, if I'd been your broker for the last 3 or 4 years, making you money on a consistent basis, you probably wouldn't be saying right now, let me think about it. You'd probably be saying, you know what, pick me up 20,000 shares. Am I right? He could either say, of course you're right, which is the logical choice, because it's true. You said something that's just true. It's true. So if he says yes, you move down the line. If he says no, you move off the line. Let's get a little boxes here, little dots here, and dots here. If he says maybe, which means wishy-washy, well, yeah, kind of, I don't know, yeah, you get sometimes too, right? You're off the line, okay? Here, what you're going to do is you're going to get very, very certain, okay? Because the bottom line is this. You know it's true. whatever you've been doing, if you're a salesperson and you've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, giving a person blue chip service, providing them with a massive value, and you call them up with a great idea, which they just said is the best thing since sliced bread, would they be buying? Of course they would, right? So I would say to someone, I say, well, let me ask you a question. If I'd been your broker for the last 3 or 4 years, you'd probably be saying, just, pick me up 10,000 shares. Am I right? Disarming tone. Not like be saying, pick up 10,000 shares, right? Not that at all. Apples, oranges. The tone is, you'd probably just be saying, pick me up 20,000 shares. Am I right? We're two reasonable men. Reasonable guy. Most people say yes. And then they'll say, you'll almost hear a gasp of relief on the other side of the phone. Very, very often. More than half the time, the guy will say, yeah, that's what's holding me back. I don't know you. I don't trust you. Fair enough. Now we're getting somewhere. If he says, well, not really, I'd say, wait a second. Come on, Bill. You mean to tell me if I put you into Eastman Kodak at 40, took you out at 60, put you into US Steel at 12, took you out at 80, put you into Union Carbide at 5, and took you out at 26, and right now I get you with another stock at 20, you would just jump all over it? Come on. Well, yeah, well, then I would. Of course I would. Obviously. Still, so obviously. You don't know me. I don't have the luxury of a track record. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Boom, and you're down again now, and let me reintroduce myself to you. You get the picture here? This works for any industry, any sale, face-to-face, door-to-door. It's a very simple transition. What you're basically saying to the guy is rather than trying to ferret out all his stalls, you're like, let's cut to the heart of the matter. You don't know me and you don't trust me. I have this presentation I'm giving after, and the first thing I say is, if you knew this person, you truly knew this person, would you buy from them? Yeah, you would. If you truly knew them, what they were about, they were trustworthy, they were honest, they had great values, they could make your life better, enhance you financially, you'd buy from them. He's not going to come out and say, hey, I love your product, I just don't trust you. He'll tell you 19 other things, but not that. So you bring it out. You front it. The best way to answer objections is to front them. You answer them before they're ever asked, while they're festering in his mind like a splinter, stopping him from taking reasonable, ethical, intelligent action. It's in there, it's stopping him. He can't think clearly. The product's the best thing since sliced bread. I love it, I need it, but I won't buy it. The splinter. Now I say, let me reintroduce myself to you. By now, he probably forgot my name. They don't know your name. You think they know your name. They don't know. Unless you've had a couple of calls with them, you might have just said your name once in the beginning or twice, right? And then just forget it. Let me reintroduce myself to you. Now, I told you earlier, I gave you a tip to handle a bit on the whole thing, how simple it is. And again, it's simple. It's not, I don't like complicated, I like simple. Simple is Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does. Forrest Gump goes up to the bus, looks at the bus driver on the first day of school, and says, I can't get on the bus because I don't know you. She goes, you're right, I'm your bus driver. He goes, okay, now I know you, and he gets on the bus. Guess what? We're all built like that. How long does it take till you know somebody saying, yeah, I know, they're good people? How long? It can happen really, really fast. You give referrals out. If someone sells you something, you make the commitment to buy it, right? 4 minutes later, you give it a referral, you're calling your friend, hey, this guy's great. You don't even know the guy. You made a buying decision. You came to the conclusion he was great. You start recommending him. Do you really know that someone's honest and ethical? How the hell do you know? I'll tell you what, I've had friends for 15, 20 years till I found out they were scum, right? We all know that. And we all have had friends that are wonderful people that have been with us through thick and thin. I have those too. And I really know, after what I've been through, who sticks with you and who doesn't. But the point is, it takes an awful long time to get to know somebody, yet we're willing to go out there on the line in 4 minutes after we buy. Hey, I just bought a car. This guy salesman's so cool, call him up. He'll hook you up. I do it. Don't you all do it? Yes or yes, right? You do it. Okay? So why can't it happen right on the phone call? Of course it can. You create it by your language, by the words you say and your tonality. It says, I care, I'm just like you. It's so simple, guys. It's so, girls, so bloody simple. That when one day you'll call me on the phone, you'll say to me, you're like, I can't believe it. Some guy was, no. I said, let me reintroduce myself to you. My name is Jordan Belfort, and I'm the Senior Vice President of so-and-so Credit Repair, and I pride myself on helping my clients get the best possible result and working harder than anybody and blah, blah, and you have a rap about yourself. I've been with this company for 3 solid years, and I plan on being the top producer here, not by being wrong, and not by not getting my clients the exact result that they want. My business is on referrals. And as far as my company goes, oh, what was that? And as far as my company goes, the third 10. And there it goes, the third 10. Sell your company. It's in one language pattern. It's whoop. The transition is, and as far as my company goes, as far as credit dispute suite goes, as far as XYZ loan mods go, as far as XYZ machine parts goes, the management team is blue chip all the way. Chairman of the company, and you give a name and a face to your company. Mike Citron, this one or that one, doesn't matter. Okay, he's the most honest guy, the way he prides everything on customer service, doing the right thing. Company's the fastest growing in your market. Now, I can make this stuff up, but the point is, research your company, find out the best rap for your company that's honest and ethical, that makes a case that this company is a company you can trust. This is not hard. Because if you can't make that case about your company, you ought to find a new company to work for, right? Not difficult. So what you've done now is you went from an objection where he said, let me think about it, to he said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you like the idea? Does it make sense to you? He said, oh my God, yeah, it's a great idea. And then a few seconds later, he admits to you, well, what's really holding me back is that I just don't know you. If I knew you, I'd buy. And if I knew your company, then I'd really buy. You've done all that. You get to that language part where you say, as far as my company goes, you say, listen to me. Do this. Write that down. Do this. I've seen more salesmen blow sales because they just don't ask for the goddamn order. They do everything but ask for the order. They don't tell the client what to do. What does an expert do? He tells you what to do. An expert doesn't say, well, I think you ought to consider signing up for credit repair. I think you ought to consider having your loan modified. I think you ought to buy this piece of real estate. I think this stock looks good. They're like, no, this is what you should be doing. You get it? Sir. So you say it's pride. So you watch your tonality now. Another shift of tonality. I pride me, my company, honest and ethical. And, believe me, when Mike Citron launches a new program, he's seldom wrong. Do this. Start off a bit smaller, bigger. Now, I don't know. It depends, again, on your industry. Now, let's assume, okay, that there's a step-down possibility, right? And you started off at X, and you can step down to Y, right? Would you step down? No. Not yet. That's next. Don't step down yet. Hold your guns on price. Don't, again, it's keeping your powder dry. This first loop, they probably won't buy. They don't buy in the first loop. By the way, they don't buy. Still. Some do. Some do. But typically it takes another loop for them to buy. There's still unresolved issues. What are they? I don't know. You can't really be sure. We can't look inside the human mind, know every insult that's happened since he's 5 years old. We don't really know his financial picture. We don't know the whole story. So we have two strategies. You want to shoot darts in the air and crazy, or do you want to deliberately go down the line, all right, and force the guy, smoke him out? Eventually, when you get the guy in the box, he's going to have to come clean with you. Because if he likes you and trusts you and knows your company is honest and he really, really wants the product, he's got this conflict. He's like saying, shit, I like these guys. I would hate to be thought a fool. Shit, I know it. I'm getting burnt still. There's this whole internal dialogue going back and forth while you're trying to close the guy. You don't think that's happening? Think about yourself when you're getting sold. You're not debating it in your own mind. You're running movies out this way. Well, if I buy it, let me see what happens here. Well, I'll feel really good driving the car. But it's really pissed at me. And I don't know. So it cost me X amount of dollars, $20,000, $2 a month. I could have bought that. I could have bought that. Well, it's happening so fast while they're just sitting there looking at you like, and it's racing around. Okay? None of us is that clever to be able to look inside that person and say, this is the exact combination. I gotta just say that. You don't know. Better keep every sale the same, okay? So let's say you go through this whole thing. Very seldom will he say again, let me think about it. It's not because, well, I still need to think about it. That's not what they say. They'll throw up another stall. They'll say, well, I got to go check with my lawyer or my accountant or my wife. We all hate that one, right? Because we always wonder, does he really need to speak to his wife? You know, is that, you don't know? Well, I don't know. So what do you say? Do you really need to speak to your wife? Come clean with me. Are you bullshitting me? Are you stalling me? Or do you really need to? She's going to bitch slap you when you get home if you do this. Tell me the truth. Well, you know, it'll be nice if we could say that, wouldn't it? It'd be great, but we can't. So what we do again is we deflect again. I don't say, you know, listen, when I was in the brokerage business doing things in the highest level of pressure, you know, we would say that we would shame people. You know, we'd shame people into, you know, I'd say to a businessman who was making $4 million a year in 1990, you know, pick up your skirt, grab your balls, and make a damn decision. To a guy. Think your wife goes out and consults you when you go shoe shopping? That was a rap that we did to shame her. Do not do that. Have more respect for your people. I'm just threw it out there. But have more respect for your people than that. But that's a way, you know, you can shame someone into buying too. Try to avoid that. Unless you really believe that the guy really should be buying and he's just so screwed up and you need to do something to shock the system. You can shame him, okay? But that's the last resort, okay? Let's say it's the wife and say, listen, I hear what you're saying. Now remember the language. I'm not saying I understand what you're saying. I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't. I understood it, I'd say, yeah, I understand. So I hear what you're saying, but let me say this. Then what do I say? The true beauty of the program, it's always your loop. You're back in with the true beauty of the program. Here's what happens. You're on the line, okay? I'm going through markers like crazy today. Okay, you're on the line, now we're in orange. You asked him for the order from your first loop. He said, well, let me talk to my wife. Are you on the line or off the line? Off the line. He went off the line. Let me talk to my wife. Bop. I hear what you're saying about talking to your wife, but let me say this. The true beauty of the program, I go back and resell the program again, and now I pull out the big guns. This is when I let my powder go, right here. This part of the loop. This is my big guns. Not the second loop, it's the third loop where the big guns come in. So it's actually the second loop, right? Yes, the second loop, right? Second loop. Okay? Where the big guns come in. Okay? Well, it's the third rap about your company, but it's the second loop. You have your initial presentation, then you have your first rebuttal rap, and then you have your second rebuttal rap, right? That's where you let out your best stuff. Okay? And you tailor it to the objection. Mention his objection in there so he knows you didn't totally disregard it. So if it's his wife, you want to weave something about his wife into the actual presentation of A, what the true beauty of the program is. Takes just a little bit of practice, not a lot, a little bit of practice. Not much at all. You get this in a couple days. Gets to the point, no matter what they say, you have the answer. If you don't, shame on you. Because you can control this easily. This is in your control. You can have the answer to every question. You can loop elegantly. You just have to put the time in to come up with the right scripts that are ethical, honest, and do the job. That's simple. So I would tailor my presentation here, now my bullets, to his wife. And then I would also, most powerful thing is tailor my close to his wife. I mentioned the wife in the close. And say, believe me, all I ask is this. When you make the first $4,000, you say, go buy your wife a little present. I'm sure she deserves it. Sound fair enough? Dead silence now. The first person who talks loses. That's your loop. You understand? What did I miss? Something very, very important. And here's what it is. This is the most powerful one of all. Every human being has what's called a decision-making strategy, which cuts to the heart of when we were being chased by dinosaurs, even though we never existed with dinosaurs. When our ancestors, right, is this fight or flight mechanism that we all have. We all operate as fear-based creatures. That's how we are. So in the middle of that loop, what we're going to do is we're going to stop it and say, listen, we're going to take this airtight logical case about the product again. So we're getting a 10 to the product. Let's say this is the line, right? We're going down the line here, okay? We resold the product. This is this third presentation, second loop. Bam, our strongest case right here. Super strong case. We resold ourselves again, right? And again, I'm going to be here for you every step of the way. I have all these patterns for you. You can write them down. I'll give you the actual patterns of what you're going to say. This is the language patterns, okay? I'm going to hold your hand every step of the way to guide you into this, guide you at this, to make sure that it works. My company stands behind this product with an unconditional guarantee, whatever it might be. All these things that are in the middle of here, right? That you're strengthening yourself, your company's integrity. Give you the patterns for it. And then you say, do this. Pick up or buy? No. You would say, and honestly, let me ask you a question. What's the worst that can possibly happen? Let's say you sign up for this program, and I'm totally wrong. And it's almost a mocking tone. I'm totally wrong. My compass is off. Your credit doesn't get fixed. Your loan doesn't get modified. Your seminar is awful. Doesn't make sense to go to. Your my machine part doesn't fill your need. The real estate's the wrong piece of real. Let's say I prove to be an incompetent fool. What's the worst that can possibly happen? Let's say that it's $245, making up a price, right? Over the next 60 days. Is that going to put you in the poorhouse? Honestly. He'll say, well, no, exactly. It's not going to make you a poor man. But on the upside, what I can do for you besides this one transaction in the way of this, that, and then you start building a massive future pace case. You create a picture in his mind of massive, massive benefits for doing business with you. You're interrupting his decision-making strategy. You showed him now. He's been weighing it. Remember the scales? Well, he's got his decision-making scales, right? And here he's got, if I do this and it doesn't work out, bad. If I do it, if it doesn't work out, good. And they're fighting. They're in a death match. Now what you've done is you've knocked out, if it doesn't work out, not so bad. We're logical creatures. If it does work out, whoa, it's even better than I thought. Because I was only thinking about credit pair. What this guy can do for me in the way of identity theft, rebuilding my credit, getting me a mortgage, woo, boom, the scale drops. Get it? Just what it's going to be that makes the scale finally go is anyone's guess. But to give someone, put someone in a situation, insert them into a place where they've said now it's the best thing since sliced bread, and they've been sold and resold again. When I say sold, I don't mean that in an evil way. They have been told the facts, undeniable, undisputable facts of why this product is the greatest. They know it. They feel it. You've created pictures so they emotionally feel it. You've talked about the wife, about their future to create an emotional want for buying. And the worst that could possibly happen is what? You lose a couple of $100. Not so bad, considering what the upside potential is. It's enormous. And all I ask is this. Give me one shot. Give me 90 days to prove myself to you. And if I do even half as well for you as I've done for my other clients, believe me, the only problem you'll have is I didn't call you 6 months ago and get you started then. Sound fair enough? Reasonable man. You've looped again. You're going to get a lot of closes right there. A lot of closes right there. Now, you're at this point in the sale here, so you've done, okay, you made your presentation here, opening call, the promised land, qualified him, your presentation, your first loop, this is now your second loop, and you're over here. What starts to happen now is this, okay? He's gonna start to get uncomfortable on the phone because you've created the box. Logic, emotion. You've hit his buying beliefs pretty hard. His buying beliefs are the two cornerstone beliefs against buying are A, I don't buy from people I don't know and trust, from companies I don't know and trust, and I don't buy unless the risk-reward ratio is heavily, heavily weighted in my favor, because only a fool would. Whether he's saying those words to himself or not, he's thinking it, he's feeling it. So you're going to enter that and disrupt his pattern and insert a new pattern, which is smart people look at, I'm not a pressure guy. I'm just saying to you, logic. What's the worst that could possibly happen here? Let's say I'm an idiot, I'm wrong. And your credit score doesn't go up and you lose whatever the $300. Is that going to put you in the poorhouse forever? If they say, yeah, then they probably shouldn't be buying this product. And then you should end the call there elegantly and say, well, maybe you know, if I can help you in some other way, or I don't know what to say. But I get that $300 is $300. I'm not saying it's no money. It's money. I get that. But in the general scheme of things, $300 versus a lifetime of pleasure. And then you create the picture. Buying cars at the cheapest rates. Buying a new home. Enjoying it with your family. Be able to take care of your children the way now you're in emotional stuff. You create the emotional needs and wants like that. Right? The scales. Reasons against buying, reasons for buying. Logical, emotion. Logical, same thing, there's on both sides, right? Action threshold, the beliefs he has, okay? It's going like this, and it doesn't go like this. It happens in a second. That one way, and the scale tips. Where exactly it happens on the line, you can never be sure, but it happens. Or they're one of those people who are simply not closable. But don't you dare, in your heart, get off the phone knowing that someone else could have closed them. Then you're not a salesperson, you're not an influencer. Then you're a second rater, and you should get a different job. Choose a new profession. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with, you know, not being that person. But if you really want to be a salesperson, you should really, you know, you owe it to yourself, your family, and the people that you interact with, not to waste their time, but to be the best that you can be. And the best that you can be is you're going to close everybody who should be closed, and no one that shouldn't be closed. The next loop that you make is going to be very tight. Okay? If someone says to you, well, I got to talk to my partner. You got to speak to my partner. Right? Another objection. Fair enough. Okay? I would say, listen, I understand you have to speak to your partner. But let me say this. All his store back again, resell my company quickly. It's like 2 lines. Resell myself quickly. Again, right? Resell my company, then don't close. I'll say, what exactly do you have to talk to your partner about? I won't just say, I never go at him head on until the very end. In other words, I'm going to answer his objection. I deflect him for a second. And I resell my company. When somebody... No, all three. Product company, yeah. But quickly, boom, boom, boom. I don't antagonize. Well, I got to speak to the partner. About what? How do you do that? How do you do that? You speak to your partner, really about what? Look at this people. Tell me. Come on, tell me. You can't do that. Just deflect for a second. Say, I understand what you're saying. You know, just let me say one thing. The beauty of this program is that I would tailor it to that. It's a sort of decision that you don't need to talk to your partner about. Like my rap would be about that, about why it's such a simple thing to do that you really wouldn't need to talk to your partner. That's what my rap would be, leaned in that direction, from the intelligence that you gathered. I would be leaning it in that direction. From there, once I got the guy and I know he's on board with me again, I say, what exactly do you need to talk to your partner about? And then let him speak. And you're going to find out that he probably does not need to speak to his partner. Well, I just got to check a few things out, and money, and money starts coming up. Money comes up, all this sort of stuff. Okay? Money will come up very often here. They'll start saying, well, I really got to see if I have the money. People are embarrassed sometimes to say they don't have money. So they'll tell you everything but, when it truly is money that's holding them back. What happens, though, is that when that's the case, you might never have even known. They gave you that first stall and they closed with looping because what you did is, yes, they still really are stretching financially, but they just realized logically there's so many benefits, emotionally, logically, fiscally. So they bought. You never really knew that what was it really in the beginning? Most of it is about just simply stretching with money.
So remember that, looping exercise that you just saw on video, you just watched. Remember that you only loop when it's in someone's best interest, and you only box someone in when they really ought to be buying your product. One of the things I want you to focus on here, remember, is tonight, go through this exercise where you identify your own physiological triggers, what actually allows you to become certain, meaning I want to get certain, I tap my hand like this. Some people will point their finger like this. I don't recommend you point at certain people because they might smack you. But you're going to find that if you want to whisper, if you narrow your eyes, it becomes much easier to whisper. If you want to create this feeling of, you're not looking to really, invade someone's privacy, so you want to get that disarming tone, you might find by pushing your arms out, it becomes easier to develop that tone. So here would be an example. If you're going to say to someone, how much money do you have in the stock market, right? You might have problems saying that in the right tone. People do. So you would say, how much money do you have in the stock market? And put your arms out, and you might find it helps you develop a disarming tone. So go through some of the tonal patterns, and I want you to notice, as you do the tonal patterns, what do you do with your body? What do you do when you sound certain? And you'll learn that you can actually trigger a certain tonality by leading with your body. The two are connected. You have the mind and the body, the tonality and the gesture. So learn that skill. It's very powerful. You'll see some more of it later on. But most importantly, right now, I want you to take what you just learned to heart. I want you to practice. And I want you to learn to master the art of boxing someone in with integrity, which means only when they should be boxed in because they need to make a decision because it empowers them and helps their family.